My name is Nikki and welcome back to another CLEP video. When I first learned about CLEP exams, I felt like I least understood the languages section because I was like, what do you mean I can earn 3 to 4 classes worth of language credit just by taking one exam? So I want to share that with you and help you understand what this is really about. So the CLEP program offers French, German, Spanish, and Spanish with writing. It has 2 levels, level 1 and level 2. And each for, how do I say this? Not each exam, but for a certain score, you can get a certain amount of credits. Let's start with French. So it's acquired from multiple semesters. Some colleges, I'm not sure if this is all colleges, they require that you have a certain amount of language credits to graduate. For my college specifically, it's up until a certain class called Spanish 202 or French 202, German 202, whatever language 202. So when you go into the CLEP College Board website, it tells you all the skills you need. You need to know how to listen. You need to know how to listen to stories. You need to know how to read discrete sentences, passages with other material. Then when you come here to the ACE recommendation for French level, it tells you that to gain 6 semester hours, 6 semester hours is 2 classes of French. You need at least a 50 on the CLEP exam. And to gain 9 semester hours is 3 classes. Each class is worth 3 credits. Or it really depends on your college. For me, one class is 3 credits. Some may say one class is 4 credits or 2, not sure. So they make sure to go check out your college's website for CLEP credits and it will make sense for you then. Now, for 9 semester hours, you need to gain a 59. And I was so surprised. I was like, this is the same test that I can earn either 2 classes or 3 classes from. That didn't make sense to me. Well, what you have to understand that with languages are so dynamic. It's very easy to test what level of comprehension you have. Now, there's this language comprehension levels called, they go from A1 to C1, I believe. Let's look it up. Language comprehension levels A1 and max. So, okay. So it is the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. It starts at A1, which is the most basic beginner level, and it goes to C2, the mastery level. You can call it the native proficiency. So let's learn about it with Gemini AI. So it tells us A1, you know very basic words, everyday phrases. Like for me with Spanish, I was like, hola, ¿cómo está? ¿Estás estudiando? ¿Qué tú haces? You know, the basic stuff. So that means you can recognize familiar names and simple words when people speak slowly. Let's go look for an actual website that describes this in detail. Let's see. From the Michigan Language Assessment. Okay. Beginner level is A1, A2, and then independent is B1, B2, then proficient is C1, C2. So CEFR is a framework to describe what language learners can do in reading, writing, listening, and speaking different stages of proficiency. Rather than focusing on years of study or classroom hours, it emphasizes real-world communication skills. This is used by many countries to assess your level with maybe German, Italian, whatever. Okay, so let's see how they describe these 6 levels. So A1 is beginner. That means you can use very basic expressions to introduce yourself. So in Spanish, I would have been like, hola, me llamo Nikki. Some nice to meet you. I forgot what that is. That's not good. A2 is elementary. That means you can communicate in simple, routine tasks and understand frequently used phrases. So that would be something in Spanish. It would be like, oh, Voy a caminando con mi amigo. I'm going to go walking with my friend, right? Okay, let's go to independent user. B1 intermediate. Can handle everyday situations, express opinions, and understand the main points of clear speech. For Spanish, that would mean using subjunctive, using past tense, present tense, future tense. I don't know how other languages are formatted. Some languages don't have future tense, some don't have past, some don't have this, some don't have that. So depending on how your language, the language you want to learn is formatted, you can easily understand the levels to each part. Okay, B2 upper intermediate can interact fluently, understand complex texts, and communicate effectively in academic or professional contexts. So you can speak to other people. You can, if someone is complaining to you in a language you think you're fluent in, you can understand that. Proficient user C1 advanced can use language flexibly and effectively for social, academic, and professional purposes. So you can go into a business meeting, give a whole presentation. C2 proficient, near native fluency with the ability to understand virtually everything heard or read. All right, that is self-explanatory. So these levels allow colleges to assess how they want to admit their students, in a sense. So for me, before I went to college, I took a biliteracy test for Spanish and one of my native languages, Swahili, and I scored a silver on both of them. It goes bronze, silver, gold. Gold is like you speak it well, you're native. Silver could mean that you're around B1 or B2. You can speak it well, you can handle everyday situations, and you can understand complex tests. And that's where I was. So my advisor of college was telling me, oh, I can start at the Spanish 202 level. My college has Spanish 101, 102, 201, 202. And because I already scored a silver for Spanish biliteracy exam, I was in the B1, B2 level, without a doubt. So I contacted the, what do you call it? I contacted the Spanish department. I was like, hey, I have this biliteracy exam. What does that look like if I don't decide to take the actual class on campus? And they were like, CLEP exists. I was like, okay, all right. So I saw this and I was like, what do you mean that I can get all the credits I need for Spanish just by taking an exam and getting a certain score? I was really like, it was too good to be true, but it's not too good to be true because it is here and it is true. Anyways, that was a big rant. Let's move on to, we've seen French. Let's look at German. Okay, German levels 1 and level 2. So just like French, it tells you what you need. Section 1 and 2 have listening. Section 3 has reading. Section 40% of the exam is listening. 60% of the exam is reading. And for German, the credit granting score for 2 classes is 50 CLEP score. And the credit granting score for 3 classes is a 60. Now let's look at Spanish. Spanish has 2 exams. You can either do Spanish language or you can do Spanish with writing. So Spanish with writing, you have a writing section. Spanish with language, it's all just multiple choice. And it is 15% listening to rejoinders, 25% listening to narratives, 60% is reading, and that's subcategorized. So for Spanish without writing, the credit granting score is 50 for 2 classes and 63 for 3 classes. And of course, they do have resources. The CLEP has resources. Now let's look at Spanish with writing. Spanish with writing has rejoined us 10%, listening with narratives 20%, reading is 45%, writing is 25%. And I believe it already tells you the type of writing you need to do. So it tells you, oh, you have to write an email to your friend. You have 10 minutes to write the email, and the response should have at least 60 words. So when you do the writing section, it assesses a lot of things. It assesses a lot of things regarding these levels. It asks, okay, can you say hello and introduce yourself in the writing section? Can you communicate what you've done, what you do daily, why you're writing this letter? Can you express your opinion about certain things? Can you understand complex texts? Can you communicate effectively to your friend through this letter? Yeah. So that is one of the ways that CLEP assesses your language capability level. And it already tells you how the exam is scored. So you don't need to be blindsided by that. Then the section 2 presentation writing tells you how it is scored and the credit granting levels. So a 50 would be equivalent to 6 credit hours, and a 65 is equivalent to 12 credit hours. 12 credit hours are 4 college courses. So that's crazy. Anyways, if you feel like you took Spanish in high school, you took German in high school, or you're fluent in German, fluent in Spanish, fluent in what was the other one? French, and you don't want to spend thousands of dollars on learning a language at the college level when you've already learned it for free at your school, then CLEP might be the way for you. Thank you for joining me. Hope this was helpful in understanding the CLEP language, and see you in the next one.